Thank you so much for the honor. Thank you for the privilege to have your time. Like I said, so in fact, when we were inviting her for this session, I didn't even realize it's someone that I've met or someone I really know quite well. But she's been part of our community on Career Drive. And I remember there was a time we had posted an opportunity and she made a comment that, oh, myself, I've benefited from an opportunity on this page. And so I'm a testimony to some of the opportunities you share on this platform. And she just, gave that testimony. And we reached out to her. And it was when she sent a picture for the flyer that I realized that, oh, this is someone I've even known. We went to the same university. So I've known her for quite a long time. And we were able to catch up and meet up again this morning. So over to you, Bosidola. Thanks for the opportunity. I'll let you do more introduction about yourself. And just let me know if you would like to share your slide so I can just pass the hosting rights to you. Good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Awi. Well, I used to call him Uncle Awi. Thank you so much for having me here. Yes, I would love to share my screen because it helps me to. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. I've just made it the host.
Thank you so much for coming here to listen to this girl. Yeah, I know some people might know me from YouTube or on social media. So firstly, I'll talk about myself, and then I'll talk about what do I have to do with Career Drive and everything. And please pardon my manners if there's, when you've lived in a foreign country for a while, you kind of adjust to their own style of doing things. And if you're familiar with Sweden, the Swedes are so reserved and we don't like to be too like we like to be modest like you. So if you have any question while I'm presenting, please feel free to interrupt me and ask me questions. My name is Bosinola Razak, but people know me as Bosinola Face on social media. And yes, now I'm an alumni of Swedish Institute in scholarship in Sweden. Then regarding Career Drive, I think, no, before I go into that Career Drive, let me introduce myself properly. So yes, I'm from Osun State in Nigeria, but I grew up in Akure. I was born and brought up in Akure, Ondo State. And I had my primary, nursery, secondary school in Ondo State. But then I did my bachelor's in urban and regional planning in Lautech, that's in Oyo State in Nigeria. And after that, after my bachelor's, I was an intern at Ministry of Housing and Urban Development for 2 years in Akure. And then after that, because I wanted to have a construction, I've always loved, because during my bachelor's, I had a lot of friends that were doing civil engineering, and I've had like discussions, a lot of construction with them. And I have my friends in the past that have followed to the site so well. So I was so interested in the construction. So after the 2 years in Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, I went into the construction industry. And there I work as a procurement manager, where we do procurement for contract, to bid contract. And yeah, we won a lot of contract then. Yeah. Then after that, I felt like, oh, there's already like a gap in my knowledge that I needed to further to go for my master's to kind of upgrade my knowledge. And then I started to before Mr. Awu was talking about how people have applied for so many scholarships and they don't get it, but just one that you would apply and then one that you don't even expect that you apply and then you just get in. Just like what he said, I have actually applied to so many scholarships as well, to the UK, to Canada. I've never for once looked into Europe. Like, I've never for once looked into it. It was always UK, US, Canada, and Australia, and every like that. Then, so unfortunately for me, I got a scholarship into Sweden. I tried Sweden just once and I got in. And yeah, this is where Career Drive comes in. I have heard about Swedish Institute scholarship, but because my mind was not in Sweden, my mind wasn't at that time. I didn't really know much about Sweden, right? I didn't really know much about the Scandinavian, the Nordic countries. It wasn't a thing. And the Nigerians knows that in Nigeria we are so particular about Canada, UK, US, and and what have you. So I've heard about it. But then on this particular day, I just came on WhatsApp and then I saw that they posted the Swedish Institute scholarship. At that time, it just opened. on Career Drive. I was like, this again? Okay, maybe I should try this. And so that was it. I tried it, and yes, and during that time as well, in my applications, Career Drive was one of the, when you do Swedish, I will still come there. When you do a Swedish Institute scholarship, you kind of, it's always good to have like a non-governmental organization that you've participated, that you are a member of, or that you've participated, that is making a change in people. So it was one of the platform that I used as my experiences, right? So yeah, so that's for Career Drive. So yes, so I got a master's to study in Sweden for strategic urban and regional planning in Linköping University in Sweden. And then after my master's, I knew that I wanted a PhD. I've been into the industry, and when I worked in the industry, I knew I wanted something more academic, right? So I knew PhD was the next, and I applied into PhD in construction logistics, and I got in. And so I know, so there was someone that said he was looking for PhD here. After this, you can ask me a question, or I can talk more. I can talk a little about PhD in Sweden as well during this. It's not on my slide, but I'll kind of do a brief about that. Yes, so that's like the basic overview of who I am. And I'm a YouTuber. I have a YouTube channel where I talk about Sweden in general. So if you still want to know more about Sweden, you can search for Boston Fit on YouTube, and then you get a lot of things about Sweden, and you can also reach out to me as well. Yeah. So without further ado, let me just get back into the Swedish Institute Scholarship. Yeah. So they call it SI scholarship, which is the Swedish Institute Scholarship for Global Professionals. So what are the background? So this scholarship is the best in the world. I know some may want to argue that, but it's the best in the world, and it's a scholarship for only master's studies. And the scholarship covers for 41 countries, which Nigeria is one of those countries. South Africa is one of those countries, and other countries, that some other European countries and all. So you have to, and one of the criteria to get a Swedish Institute scholarship is to do a sustainability course. And if you're smart enough, you can link every profession to sustainability. So it depends on how you judge what you're doing. And then the aim of the Swedish Institute Scholarship is to contribute to the United SDG Goals 2030. So if you want to go into the Swedish Institute, you want to win the scholarship, this is the right time for you to know the goals, and to kind of link it to all your experiences, what you want to study in Sweden and what you've done before. So you should kind of make it, like they call it, triangulation, like make it like it, let it connect to each other. Yeah. So then applications are opened once in a year, and it opens in February. So yeah, that's kind of like a short brief of what the scholarship is about. So yeah, so what are the eligibility for you to be qualified to get a Swedish Institute scholarship? First, like I've mentioned, you have to be a citizen of one of the 41 countries that I mentioned. South Africa is there, Zimbabwe is there, Ghana, and a lot of countries are actually there. And then it's a master's degree in Sweden, and then it's a full tuition, it's fully funded. And then for you to be qualified, you have to demonstrate work experience, you have to demonstrate leadership experience, current, previous, or a civil society engagement. So for you to apply to the Swedish Institute Scholarship, there are some dates that you have to know, like you have to know them at the back of your head. Like if they wake you, you will know. And one thing I used to tell people is scholarship is highly competitive, honestly. These 41 countries, every year, they have like, do you know how many countries you're competing with? It's not like it's different platform for different country. Every country is competing for just one scholarship together. So you're applying, everybody's applying together to this just one scholarship. So it's highly competitive. And every year there's kind of thousands of application. I think this year they had like over 10,000 applications, and they only picked like 259 scholars. So it's not like 0 point something percent of people that they choose. So it's highly competitive. But if you pay attention to details, you can win it. So yes. So the important date is October to January is you apply for admission first. So for you to be eligible for the scholarship, you need to get an admission into Sweden. You have to get an admission, which normally occurs, it opens from October to January for internationals. But for people who are European students, EU and EEA students, they have other options to have a second admission, but it's not applicable to the Swedish Institute. So you have to apply when the general admission opens, which is general international admissions, and it happens between October to January every year. So it's once in a year. And then November, documents are published. So this is how it works for the Swedish Institute scholarship, you get admission into Sweden. To get admitted into Sweden, it's not like every other country that you have to apply to different schools. No, this is how it works. They have a unified body. So it's like universityadmissions.sc. I can give you or put the link on the group later so that you can explore and read about it, because it will be good when you read about it so that you can understand this for yourself. So when the admission opens, you apply on that just website. You apply to four schools on the website. So once you apply to those four schools, then one will give you admission. Like once you get admission, that is the first step to apply. So in November, the Swedish Institute will publish their documents, the application form and the documents, which goes the leadership document, the CV. They have a format for everything. They have a format for their motivation. They have a format for CV, and you must follow their format for their reference. They have all these forms. So by November, those forms will be published. So then you can fill those forms and have it ready. So once it's February, the portal is opened officially, and the portal is normally open for just 2 weeks. So in those 2 weeks, yeah, that's where you upload the document and then you fill an online application as well. So by March, admission list is out, like the university admission list is out. That's when you know. So the first thing that they check is, did you get admission on that March? So once you have admission on that March, then you are one step in the scholarship. So the university admissions will automatically send your name to the Swedish Institute. So they know that, okay, this person has the admission. Now we can consider, let's check, let's check other criteria. So by April, normally like in the last week of April, the SI list will be out. So that's kind of how it works. So you can feel free to ask me questions if you don't understand. So next, what is including in the scholarship? If I get the scholarship, what am I liable to get? What is the benefit I know? First, like I've mentioned, your tuition is paid regardless of, no matter how much it is, like you just get, it's fully funded. You don't have to do anything. They pay directly to the school, and the school just sends you a notification that, oh, your tuition has been paid and every other stuff. Then they pay you expenses. They pay you a monthly allowance of 12,000 SEK. In Sweden, we don't use euros, we use the Swedish krona. So yeah, so it's like equivalent to $1,200. So that's how much you get every month for your living expenses. And then you have insurance against illnesses and accident in case. And then you have a travel grant. So this is how it works. When you get the scholarship, they pay your travel expenses to Sweden, and they pay the one you are going to use back. So they pay that when you move into Sweden, both to and fro, they give you at once. So whether you leave Sweden or not after your studies is not their concern, but they pay you that money. So it's one of those money that you get immediately you land into Sweden. So they pay you that 15,000 SEK and then pay you 2 months expenses so that they know that you need to settle down, buy stuff. So they just give you that money. So when I came in, they gave us like 40,000 SEK. That's like $4,000. The week you came, the week you get in, they pay you, because before you even get into Sweden, they would have transferred your details on your card, your ATM card that you are going to use to access your money. They would have transferred it to the school. So the day you get to school, the day you meet with their representative and they give you that card. So you don't have to stress yourself. So that's how it works. And then you get to be a member of NFGP member, which is like a national association of those who have won the scholarship in the past. So they have like a body. So it's not like once you are done with scholarship, Sweden will say, go, we don't have anything to do with you again. No, you are still one of their, you are still in a group, you are still one of their system. So whenever they want to do anything that has to do with the alumni, they contact you. If they need mentors, they contact you. So they don't just say, go. So there's a body, you are now part of their NFGP member, and then you become an alumni. Yes, so those are the benefit that you get. But the scholarship does not include, for example, additional grant for family members. No, they don't pay. So if you are coming, you can bring your family members, but the scholarship does not cover for your family members. So the living expenses is just for you. But for insurances and accident, I heard that people, because I didn't use mine during my time, so that I don't have any family member that was sick, but people that were around me that won the scholarship, the insurance is actually covered for them. Then the fee for university admissions, when you're applying for admission, you pay a fee and it's 900 SEK. That's like $19. It's 900 SEK for you to apply for admissions. But this is the good thing. When you get a Swedish scholarship, when you're applying for your resident permit to come into Sweden, because once you get your admission into Sweden, Sweden will not grant you visa. They don't use visa as a student. They give you a resident permit, a card. They give you a card. I don't have mine here. I would have showed you. They give you a resident permit card. So that resident permit, when you're applying to do that card, they don't, for people who don't get the scholarship, they pay a fee of 1,500 SEK, which is like $150. But for Swedish Institute scholarship, you don't pay, it's free for you. So that's a plus. But for university admissions, when you're applying for admission, you pay for the fee, which is 900 SEK. Then once they approve your scholarship, for example, you get admission to, sorry, for example, you get a scholarship to study civil engineering. When you get into Sweden, you cannot change that study and say, okay, I want to change and still retain the scholarship. No, you can change, but you will lose your scholarship. So the scholarship is mainly for what they have approved for you from beyond the onset. So yeah, then there's no extensions of scholarship period. Once your scholarship term ends, that's when the money ends. So if you're extending your studies, then you have to pay for yourself. So that's like a short that's what it's about. Then how to apply summary. Like just this is just like a process of what I've just the first step is for you to apply for the master's program, which is admissions. And then the next step is for you to apply for the scholarship that opens from within November to February. And then the third is when you get your notification from university admissions. And then the last is when the university admission list is out. Let me open. So is the SI announcement, which comes normally around April, like I've explained earlier. This is just kind of to refresh our brain. So I think I've come to the end, but I will not stop here. I think I have something that I've noted down. Um, Tips on preparing strong scholarship application. When I was preparing this slide, it was in the middle of, I was very busy because I had to submit papers for publication. So I just rush and do this slide just to send. So tips on preparing strong scholarship applications. I used to tell people, and people who have watched my YouTube channel, I used to say that they are not witch hunting you. Like, yeah, the basic thing that I knew during my own time is they want you to just do details. Like little things count, right? Little things count. If they say do not change our format, don't change it. If they say we want this font, we want this size, we want this is how we want you to do it. Just do it, just like they said. If they say stamp every page of your application, stamp it. And sometimes it's always good when you have like 2 years experience of what you're applying for. My advice is have experience of what you're applying for, and then let your school to be on the safer side. Let what you're coming to study in Sweden, let it kind of relate with what you want to come and do, or let it relate to your experience with what you want to come and do in Sweden. I think, and then your motivation, like motivation is going to be so short. It's just 1,000 words. During my time, it was 1,000 words, including spaces. So to tell you how short it is, so it's 1,000. Like um Uncle Awi was saying in the beginning of this, I was talking about your elevator pitch. Your motivation letter is mainly like that. You should be able to say something that you want to do for Sweden. No, not do for Sweden. What you want to do to your home country after you're done in Sweden. You should be able to say it in just few sentences, and you should be able to convince the person that will be reading the motivation. I have a video on my YouTube channel where I read out my motivation letter and everything. Yeah. So that's kind of a few tips that I know. You can ask me question after this. And then another thing that I noted down is the benefits and challenges of studying in a foreign country. In Sweden, the benefits, Sweden has so many benefits. It's a country where you can build your family. Yes, we have high taxes. We pay 32% depending on your municipality. In my municipality, we pay like 32% of 32% taxes. But Sweden pay well. If you are lucky to get a good job, they pay you well. But with those taxes, your children is free health, free education up to PhD. There are a lot of things that I cannot even remember right now in Sweden. So basically, what you spend money on in Sweden, maybe your housing and your bills, and that's all. That's all what you kind of pay for in Sweden in general. And then I also noted down that when we're doing introduction, there was someone that said he has applied and then he's giving up hope and everything. Don't give up. I applied to so many as well. In fact, as at when I was applying to the Swedish Institute Scholarship, I already because I applied to a scholarship in the UK that I was almost getting. They even told me to send in all my results as hard copy to send it to them. I spent money and sent it to them. At the end, I didn't get it. I was broken, and I said I was not going to apply to any scholarship anymore. That no, I'm done. Like scholarships are not for me. And so when I saw Swedish Institute, I was seeing it, but I was just no, I don't even want to put myself under any other emotional trauma anymore. But immediately I saw it again on Career Drive. So I was like, okay, let me give it the last chance. Once I do this, then I'm not going to apply to any scholarship again. And here we are. I was lucky to get it. So don't give up. Another story I would tell you not to give up was every like people in Sweden knows that to get a PhD position in Sweden is highly competitive because is you're competing against so many nationalities, Europeans, and you know that they will consider themselves first before they even consider you that you're coming from Nigeria, from Africa for that matter, right? So it's highly competitive. So when I was approaching the end of my master's, it was around this time last year. I was like, okay, what next? I needed a PhD. So what do I do? I applied to PhD position, I applied to two, and then this one that I got, I saw it, I was like, no, I don't want to do the two is okay. Those two that I applied for, I was so confident that it was clicking, like it's me, it was describing me in my own eyes, like in my own knowledge. It was describing me so in my mind, and it was kind of relating to what I did for my master thesis. So I was like, oh, this two is sure. And there was one that was in my department that I finished from, that I know the professors that were in charge of this. So in my mind, I said, oh, I will get this. At least if I don't get the other one, this one in my department, I will get it and everything. And so this one that I'm doing, I left it to the later stage. I said, no, I don't want to. But there was a day, my husband was like, why don't you apply to this time? I said, no, that is okay. I was dragging. It started the application for me. So when I saw that, okay, he has initiated it, let me just finish it like that. Let me just try and finish it. And guys, that was the scholarship. They didn't waste time. That was the PhD that I got. That was the PhD. So that's to tell you. And there's this thing that one of my friends used to say that if you apply for 1,000 jobs and you say you're tired, you don't want to go to 1,001. What if it's that 1,001 that you get? So if you give up, that's when you fail. But if you continue, you don't know what is ahead of you, right? So please don't lose hope. As long as you still have passion for that thing, because I believe that God will put the desire in you. So as long as the desire is still in you, you will get it. So don't give up. I need to say that. And then I thought I was going to say some things about PhD in Sweden. PhD in Sweden is you have to apply just like you're applying for a job. So if you're looking to study for PhD in Sweden, I've seen people that got PhD from other African countries, for example, Ghana. I've seen them that they got it directly from Ghana in Sweden, from other European country to Sweden. So you can check into universities in Sweden and go to their job vacancies route, or you check them on LinkedIn, and you get some positions that, especially this transport engineer that is here with us. I think if you look into Sweden, you might probably get something, because there are a lot of um, PhD positions regarding transport and all transport models and everything. Yeah. So yeah. So basically, to get a PhD in Sweden, you apply separately to those. Just like you're applying for a job, you get a PhD job and apply. And luckily, you can get it. So yes, like I said, this is the last slide. You can check more information on this website. I would put it on the career drive after this session for admission and for Swedish Institute's website. So yes, thank you. You can ask your question. Thank you so much. You
Wow.
can stop sharing now.
Brilliant presentation. Brilliant presentation. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so much.
sir.
I thought that was really, really spot on. And many of the questions I penned down, you already covered them in the presentation, which is brilliant. So thank you very much. Can we open our mic and just show some sort of appreciation and say thank you? Or if you want to just clap your hands on the screen to appreciate the speaker, would you like to just join me as we thank her? Or we can roll drums. All right, fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I'm going to leave, I'm going to give the opportunity for a couple of questions to come from our audience before I delve into some questions that I penned down. So do we have anybody who wants to go for it? You want to shoot your shots?
Yes, Dr. Robert here.
Okay, Tokwe, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation once again.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so you talked about the 32% taxes and all that. I want to understand. You see, the money they pay, that is the 1,200 per month. How is the cost of living in Sweden? How does it help to cater for your needs and all? I want to be able to understand that. Then secondly, for PhD in robotics, do you have an idea if there's something like that in Sweden? And of course, if I get something like that in Sweden, I want to continue living in Sweden. So do you have an idea if there are jobs in that area? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Big questions
Can
in
I?
one. Yes,
Okay.
go ahead, please.
Okay, yeah. For the taxes, yeah, we pay high taxes, but you will still save. I know. For example, you're a tech, I've seen tech guys that earn like 80,000 krona, that's like $8,000 per month. So after tax, let's say maybe you have 50,000, which is good. The standard of living, let's say, let me do like a rough calculation. So, for example, you are earning like 80,000, and then after taxes, let's say you have like 50,000 take home. Your housing is with somebody who has family, then your wife as well is earning. So you're earning more than 50,000 as a household. Let's say you alone. So 50,000, let's say your house rent is 9,000 SEK every month. And then feeding, let's say you feed is 2,000, that's like 11,000 out of every. So you see that you still have a lot to save for yourself. So yeah, the taxes look high, but the people really earn well in Sweden. So yeah, for the robotics, I think you could explore opportunities. It's a very one thing Sweden is looking for now is IT. Most developed countries are looking for IT guys. And you that did robotics, man, you're going to. I've seen people who have reached out to me from people who came into Sweden from Ghana, that they were software engineers, that they got a job directly into Sweden and they're paying them well. So you could look for opportunities of jobs, and you could also explore PhD positions. And for your PhD counts towards your of course PR and everything. So you can set so. You can set so.
Thank you.
Brilliant. All right. Anybody else? Question? So let me touch on that issue of settling that Tokwe already highlighted. And Tokwe, thank you for the brilliant question. So, Boston, you talked about Swede SI scholarship that they give you a return, the money for return fare. So as you're coming into the country, they pay you your flight cost into the country and the one to leave the country. Does that mean that they expect scholars to return to their country? Is there a requirement like that? And if there is, do they also as well encourage people to stay back?
Mm. So this is it. There's something I also did not mention when I was presenting, which I will say now before I answer your question. For the Swedish Institute Scholarship, unlike every other scholarship that I know, you can work part-time with a scholarship. They don't mind you working. It's none of their business. As long as you're making your credits,
And
it's fine. So
how many hours are you allowed to work in a
there's
week?
no hours limit, there's no limitation. You can work as much as possible as you can in Sweden. So for you going back, it's not compulsory because you are eligible to be in Sweden after you study 1 year to look for a job and start working. So they just give you the money that, okay, in case if you want to. So then to make it fair, one thing with Sweden is they try to equalize everything. So to make it fair, they pay everybody the money and they have a stable amount of money that they pay to everybody, which is like 15,000 krona.
If I get you correctly, then does it mean that this cost for your travel is it reimbursement? Do you have to find it first and then they reimburse you when you get into the country?
Yes, yes. You have to pay for your flight yourself before coming. So they will reimburse you when you
And
get
your
here.
visa fee? What about visa fee?
Visa fee, they pay you. You don't pay visa fee. As a SI
Oh,
scholar, you don't.
okay, great, fantastic.
But if you have dependents coming with you, you pay for your dependents, but you don't pay for yourself.
These are very generous offers from the Swedish Institute Scholarship. I guess the other question I want to ask as a follow-up to that is regarding the visa application process itself. So most countries would expect you to have what is called a proof of fund. Is this also a requirement if you are an SI scholar? Because that amount of money, when you convert it to Nigeria, to Nigeria's naira, is usually a lot of money that gives a lot of people headache. So is this also a requirement in SI scholarship or not?
No, for SI scholarship, you don't have to provide proof of funds. But if you have dependents, if you want your dependent to come with you, then you provide proof of funds for your dependent. But if it's you alone, you don't need, the only thing, you and the embassy, the only thing is they just call you to come and do your biometrics because automatically, even before you do your resident permit, automatically the Swedish Institute has sent your name to embassies, to the migration vacate. So because the migration vacate, they are the ones who do the migration stuff and everything because your card is going to be coming from Sweden. They send in your card from Sweden. So it's not the embassy that handles your application, it's the migration in Sweden. The only thing the embassy does is to take your biometrics, that's your fingerprints, your passport checks and all. So and then they send in your resident permit straight from Sweden to the embassy. So that's all that you have to do. There's no stress. Once you get the scholarship, they don't stress you on anything, except if you now have dependents. So when you now have dependents, maybe they will now do interview for you just to be sure if they are truly your dependent and stuff, and then provide how you want to cater for them when you get into Sweden.
But the person is asking, thank you, ma'am. Is the scholarship available for people already schooling, that is second year students? I want to presume that she meant people who are in second year of their undergraduate studies.
No, in Sweden, and I think maybe it's an EU thing. Uncle, I don't know, but
Okay.
most of their scholarship is more of masters. So I don't know why. Maybe because most of the undergraduates are free schools. I don't know, but for most scholarship, especially in Sweden, let me speak for Sweden, it's mainly masters. But then in Sweden, it's not only the Swedish Institute scholarship that is available. We also have the university scholarships. But for the university scholarships, it's not like the Swedish Institute because this university scholarships will only pay for your tuition. Then living expenses, you have to sort that yourself. And all this other benefit, like you have to pay resident permit, you pay every other thing. The only thing this university scholarship will do for you is to pay your tuition. And then back to the question where Naga was asking if it's available for second year students. Like my understanding is maybe second year students in masters in Sweden. If that is the question, no, it has to be first year. But then if it's someone who is about finishing bachelor's and you have your transcript already, but then you have experience, you need to have 2 years of experience. If you have 2 years of experience ready, and then maybe you're in your final year, yes, they can consider you. As long as you can provide your transcript at when they need it, then they can.
Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you. I mean, you were spot on. So Naga actually meant second year master's students. She has just mentioned that in the chat and
Okay.
responded to that. Thank you. Thank you. That's brilliant. We also have another question from Isaac. But before I go to that question, I just want to touch on something you mentioned, which is quite important, I guess. Talking about some of these European countries, how that they focus scholarship opportunities for master's program. I think that's applicable in most countries as well. So I've studied in Netherlands, I've studied in the UK, and I know a couple of people who have also benefited from scholarship programs in Canada, in Australia. Myself, I was offered a scholarship in Australia. I couldn't go because I was already doing one in Netherlands and also in the US. So I think the general idea is that for master students, you're more likely to be clear about what you want from life and how that is going to impact society. I think one thing we need to also continue to emphasize is that the scholarship is not essentially free money that they just throw around. I think these are consider it to be like an investment in people who have clear goals, clear career goals, and they can demonstrate that this education is going to help them have this kind of impact. Most times for undergraduate students, they are not yet at that level of clarity most times, in most cases. I mean, you would agree that many of us probably even studied courses that we didn't intend to study in undergraduate programs. I mean, there's a common saying, if you're studying medicine, you probably say, oh, when people ask you, what do you study? You say, I'm studying medicine. But if somebody is studying a course like, apologies to anybody who's probably studying any course like that. Maybe I will not use any course. But there are some courses when they ask people, what are you studying? People will say, oh, the university gave me. They will not say it as if this is what they're studying anymore. It's like, oh, the university gave me this course. So they would sort of not, they would sort of not admit and acknowledge or take responsibility for that course that they are studying. So generally, what I'm saying in essence is, because undergraduate programs a lot of times is still where people are trying to find out if this is where they should be or not. But by the time they're moving into masters, and I guess the word masters also mean that they are mastering an area of specialization. By the time you're mastering that area, you're demonstrating some level of competency within the sector, and perhaps you're showing that there's an impact you can make if that investment of funding comes to you. But thank you very much. I just wanted to point that out as well. So let me go over to Isaac's question. Isaac is asking a very brilliant question here. We know that some people have HND and not BSc certificates. For such candidates, do they qualify to apply? To add to that, Bosinola, I also want you to touch on the class of degree. So you have said people need to have 2 years of experience. Is there a class of degree that is also allowed? I mean, must you have a first class? Must you have a 2-1? What if you have a 2-2? Or what if you don't even have BSc and you have HND? Over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I also want to thank you for clarifying the masters and BSc thing that you just said. It was really insightful. Thank you so much. Um, for HND, I'll start with the HND. In Sweden, you can use HND for masters, and this is why. It's because in Sweden there's a grade of there's a way they grade the academic whatever, and there's something they call gymnasium. So gymnasium is in Sweden. Once you are done with your high school, now they decide those children, they will give opportunities. So what do you want? Do you want to go into gymnasium? And gymnasium is mainly like practical part of, for example, practical part of electrical engineering, practical part of this. While those who like crafts might want to go into that. And people who really want to study theories and everything scientific studying goes to bachelor's. And so HND is classified under gymnasium in Sweden. So it is not considered for masters. But if you have HND, for example, you have a HND in civil engineering, and then maybe you now have, maybe you went back to school for BSc and study, let's say, computer science, and you want to apply to software engineering in Sweden, you can come because there's a way they count credits when you're applying to Sweden. They count the courses that you will do for masters and kind of relate it to what you've done before to see if you have a knowledge of what you want to come and do. Because we've had stories of international students who will come here, especially people who come to study IT. They actually don't know. I don't blame people. It's because in Africa, the way they teach us is kind of different to here because they call them developed country for a reason. They are way ahead of us. So most internationals, once they come, when they see things that they've not saw before. For example, you will start seeing people, yeah, they use MATLAB, they use R. In Nigeria, people just have little knowledge about Python, you understand? But in Sweden, they mainly use R. They go the manual way. They don't use automatic. So MATLAB, all these things, they don't know in Nigeria. So once they come, they struggle a lot. A lot of people lose their scholarships because they could not. So now they check what you've done before and kind of relate it to what you want to come and do so that you don't stop on the way. They want everybody to finish their studies, right? So you can use your HND to support your BSc for a course that you really want to do. That's the way. But only HND, no, they don't accept for masters. But maybe you can use it for bachelor's, I don't know. But for masters, no. And then the second question that says the class of degree to get the SI scholarship, in Sweden, they will tell you they don't do with grades. Sweden does not, we don't do grades in Sweden. They don't use grade like they do in other countries. As long as your experience, as long as you are smart, they can tell with your application. They don't need your results. With your application, they can pick the people that are smart. You understand? So they don't really look at. But the thing is, at the end, when you check people who actually won the scholarship, this is not to discourage people who don't have good grade from school. There are people who don't have good grade, but they've stepped up with experience, right? Now they've seen, there's a way failure teaches you things about life. It makes you smart. It makes you don't want to be where you were before. It makes you to refine yourself. So when you can do that, then it's fine. But when I check the statistics of people that I've met personally that actually won the SI scholarship, they were people who had like 4 points above, right? And it's because of their smartness, right? And if you see people who were like maybe above 3 or something, that means there's something about them, about their experience. They've gained experience. They've developed themselves more. So they don't really use grade, but you have to be smart to get the scholarship. Like I told you, it's competition. You are competing against so many people. The Europeans, I used to shout, the Europeans, and you know how smart these people can be. So for you to win, you have to be on your A game. You cannot afford to make any mistake. And another thing that I need to mention is once you start applying on the portal, once they open the portal, the documents are different. Yes, you have the document, but they also have the portal. Once you're applying on the portal, you have to be smart, because from the portal stage, there's a way the system, if you don't use some keywords, Uncle we will know more about this as well, and people who are more familiar with IT. If you don't use some keywords, the system will automatically screen you out. So you might have all the experience, but if you're not smart enough to be smart to do the application online, you might miss out from the application. So you have to be smart. You have to be on your A game. You should be able to read the minds of those who are the organizers of this scholarship, how they've programmed the system, right? Yeah, I don't know if I've answered that question, but I just had to put that out there so that you can think about, oh, okay, 1 + 1 is 2 and everything. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You've just touched on something quite significant, which I think I would like us to address. And I'm going to come to that point just in a moment. I'm going to come to that point of application tracking system just in a moment. I know Kimberly has been on the call. Kimberly from Zimbabwe, she's been very patient. And I'm just wondering if Kimberly has a question, and I want to give her the opportunity to ask that question. So Kimberly,
Thank you so much, sir. So I'm actually KM. I just changed form to suit everyone else. My one question would be, I'm not sure if it can be answered here, but in my situation,
Kimberly, before you go to your question, because of
yes,
people that joined afterwards, do you mind just
yes.
reintroducing yourself and then you can go to your question? Thank you.
Okay, not a problem. So hello again, everyone. My name is Kimberly Mugadza. I'm a Zimbabwean based in South Africa. I work in the custom software space as a strategist and consultant. And a bit about my story. Studying abroad has always been something that I've wanted and I've been working towards since 2017. I have had some successes in terms of university admissions, but the one thing that I couldn't necessarily crack for myself was how to secure funding. Hence, I joined here and I've learned a lot so far. So thank you very much for organizing this session. My question comes from my unique case where I am a Zimbabwean. I am based in South Africa. I have permanent residency there. So if I am fortunate to secure the scholarship for next year, will I have to liaise with the embassy in my home country, or will they be open to liaising with me where I am based?
Yeah, and thank you so much for that question. I've had people with this similar problems. But the thing is, the good news is it doesn't matter as long as where you are residing is one of those countries that are considered for SI scholarship, then it's totally fine. But I've seen people, I have a friend right now, she's a Ghanaian, but she was in Kenya when she got the scholarship. So for her case, she had to come to Ghana. So it depends on you. She had to come to Ghana to I think she said she had to come to Ghana to come to Nigeria embassy or something. So it depends on how you want to do it. As long as you're a resident in that country and that country is eligible for SI scholarship, then it's totally fine.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Kimberly. That's a very brilliant question. And just to touch on what Kimberly said, so I've met a couple of Zimbabweans that are my friends. Some of them I met in the Netherlands when I was doing a master's program there, and another brilliant, fantastic young friend from Zimbabwe I met recently at Oxford. She's a Rhodes Scholar, and the Rhodes Scholarship allowed her to get 2 degrees from the Oxford University. So she has an MBA and a Master's in Public Policy from University of Oxford. And I've got some friends that are also South Africans. And just outside of this call, if you feel that it might be useful to put you in touch with some of these people who share either residency or citizenship country with you, they might be able to still give you insight as to what is directly applicable to your situation and what to do. A couple of my friends that are in South Africa got the Rotary Foundation scholarship. So I believe that South Africa is qualified for that for some other schools. So just thank you for saying that.
Please, I need to mention one thing as well. Kimberly, I don't know if I think we are friends on LinkedIn, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, please. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. I also have a Zimbabwean, which is she's an SI scholar, an alumni. and she resides in Sweden. She's working in Sweden now. I can probably link both of you together if you don't mind, if you want.
Thank you so much. I would appreciate that.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Bosinola, for that very kind gesture. Thank you. So you touched on something which is quite significant, and I don't want us to lose that point. And I think this is the point where many Nigerians or Africans generally, this is that tipping point where this information can be quite valuable for us. One of the issues with application is the fear that my grade is not good enough. I'm not going to be called. I'm not going to qualify. And to be honest with you, I've interacted with lots of scholarship holders, a lot of scholars for different programs. And majority of scholarship applications also use grade as a yardstick. But Bosinola, you have just made a point that the Swedish Institute Scholarship does not even give so much recognition to grade. Although, of course, you mentioned, you realize that at the end of the day, most people who get the scholarship are also people who have gotten good grades. But I imagine I've had people tell me, young people tell me their story and say, oh, something just happened when I was in school. This is not a typical reflection of my ability.
Yeah.
I've improved myself over the years, and I've added a lot of value to myself. So this grade issue, I think we need to pass this message across. I want you to point, to shed more light on that. So what you mean is that even if I have a third class and I'm able to put in a strong application, can I still get the SI scholarship because my grade is not a specific requirement? Is that what you've just said?
Yeah. Now let me shock you. The only time they need grade, the only time Sweden will ask you for transcript. You see, SI Scholar does not have anything. Throughout your SI scholarship application, there's nowhere they will tell you to submit transcripts or certificates.
Wow.
The only place you will submit your transcript to is their university admissions. And once you get your admission, once you get admission into Sweden, then what SI considers, they have their criteria, and I've said it here, your experience, leadership experience, governmental organization experiences, that is all. And your motivation on what you want to use that scholarship for after studies and all. That is all. The Swedish, they don't have anything to do with your academy. They've left that to the university admissions. Is their judge. And for them, they don't check grades. In Sweden, we don't use grades. For my PhD, we just use pass or fail. There are so many courses most IT courses, most science and engineering, they don't use grades. They only use 1, 2. They use pass or fail. It's not a thing in Sweden. They don't cry out your grades. They tell you we don't talk about grades in Sweden. They believe in your ability. A student can fail on so many things. There are some people that are not just serious for some reasons. Maybe when they were doing bachelor, they were not. It doesn't mean that they are not brilliant. It doesn't mean that they are not experienced. And so because their grade is something, there are some people that their grade is saying something different from who they are. They are really experienced. They can do things. They are so innovative. They are so creative. Just that they cannot do exam and have a good grade. And so because of that, you don't want to black. No, Sweden have come to understand that it is not by going to, I can cram and go and get A. That will not help me in the field. There are some people that are so innovative. That is their own talent. So they recognize everybody. As long as you can prove to them that you are up to the task, they give you. They don't, whether you have third class or fourth class, it's none of their own, that is not their business. So that's what the scholarship is about.
Thank you so much. I wish there's a way we can amplify this message so that everybody can listen, everybody in the world can hear what you're saying about Sweden at this time. But thank you so much. That's such a critical piece of information that we need to highlight in this part. And just to let us know that this session is recorded, we're going to make the link available. Bosinola has also promised she's going to drop the admission application portal link on the Career Drive's platform. So if you're not in that platform, would like you to be a part of that platform so you can access those information. Can I request that Lola help us to copy the link to join Career Drive and just pop that in the general chat box so people can access that information. And while we're still on that, I just want to also point out that, well, I said this at the beginning. We are starting a webinar series that will be focused on a monthly webinar series that would shift attention and focus from one country to the other. Now you know everything you need to know about Sweden. Next month, we're going to talk about another country that many Nigerians don't even think about and the amazing opportunities that that country can offer. So we're going to talk about Brazil in June. We're going to move from Brazil to perhaps Poland. We're going to talk about Germany. We're going to talk about many of these Scandinavian countries as well, Norway, Finland, all of these countries, so that we can expand our search criteria and our search horizon and be able to access opportunities. We have a wonderful scholar from Career Drive who is also in Italy. And we have somebody who has also won the Erasmus Mundus scholarship that allows them to study in 3 or 4 European countries. We're going to bring all of this together, and Spain as well, so that people can have as much opportunities as possible. So thank you very much for that. I know that somebody just joined us, and I wanted to just give her the opportunity in case she has a question. And I've seen that there is also a new question in the chat from Ayobami. I'm going to allow Ayobami to, it's quite a long text, so if he wants to read it out, I'm going to allow him to do that. But before I come to Ayobami as he prepares, I see that Chioma has joined us. Would you like to just maybe introduce yourself? And if you have a burning question or something you'd like us to know, please let's hear it. So Chioma, over to you. Quick introduction, your name, what you do, and if there's something you really, really want to know or want to hear, or a burning question. And if there's none, we can move over to Ayobami. So Chioma. All right. So Ayobami is in transit, and while Chioma is waiting, let me read Ayobami's question to you quickly. So his question is, he said, thank you for sharing this information. As a theater arts graduate with a strong interest in human resources, I'm wondering if I still have a chance to build a successful career in this field, despite my undergraduate degree not being directly related. Currently in my second year of working in HR, I know that HR plays a significant role achieving SDGs 3, 4, 5, 8, and 10. Can I still leverage my skills and experience to make a meaningful impact in this field? Or are there additional steps I need to take to bridge the gap between my undergraduate studies and my current career aspirations?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think you can proceed with your experience. You can study masters for your experience. Yeah, it doesn't have to be, as long as it's either you have an experience or you have an undergraduate degree. Once one thing is linking to that, then it's fine. It's fine. These people are not, they are nice people, right? They are nice people. They want us to also study, and they want us all to get the scholarship, but just that they can't give it to everybody. So once you have experience, that you of course you will get it. You will, if your application is strong in.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Thank you, Bosinola. Thank you. Thank you. That's quite helpful to know. So we have the link to a sign-up form. If you want to, I think the link to the sign-up form is if you want to sign up for volunteering, you want to be a part, you want to know what we're doing, you want to volunteer your skills. I think Bosinola made a great point, which I want to go back to. That's one of the key criteria for this scholarship is leadership qualities, demonstrating leadership qualities. And I want to emphasize this. I think one of the gaps that young people need to address is this mindset of not doing anything to contribute to society. I think many people are so carried away with, I want to make money, I want to make money, I want to do this. that we forget that this kind of scholarship opportunities can only be attracted when you've demonstrated some sort of leadership. What we're doing here today is an example of that. And for the opportunities I've also been able to get access to, it has primarily been because I was able to show the impact that I'm making in my society. In society. Bosinyola said at the start of this call that one of the things she used in her application was even career drive. She showed how she has played the role. And look at what she's doing today again. I mean, we have not paid her any dime for her to give the space of her time. You can imagine a PhD candidate with papers to write, conferences to speak at, and things like that. But she's given us a time. And this time is a contribution to society to make impact. All of these things are things you need. I think it's a challenge when people read your profile or read your personal statement and they cannot see anything that you've contributed to society. It has always been about you, you, you. People, you want to, I mean, and I'm going to go back to this question because it's one of the things I want to ask Bosinyola as well. I want us to have an idea of how much the investment of this education is worth. How much is the tuition range in Sweden? And if you convert that to dollars and maybe convert that to your local currency, imagine somebody, what you want to do literally is to ask somebody to give you, for example, 20, 30 million naira to give it to you without even knowing anything about you, without having met you in their lives before. The question is, how can you claim you justify that investment? What is that thing you're going to show to the person that I merit this beyond my education? And that's where volunteering comes in. That's where being a part of something comes in. That's where making contribution to society comes in. We are all given our time. I could be doing something else right now. The team that has put this together, they could be doing something else with their time. But I always tell them, if you ever need a recommendation for anything, come to me. Let us know. We're going to put it together and say, oh, this person has been part of what we've been doing. This person has made this impact, and we can attest to that. And it's important to, to be in that line and to think, have that mindset, because it's really going to help you. I'm conscious of our time. We're going to finish exactly around 10:59 or 11 on the dot. So I'm just going to come back to Bosinyola. So I want to give you the opportunity. Can you just talk a little bit more about this importance of leadership, volunteering, so impact in society, and then just give us an insight into the range of fee for tuition in Sweden. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I will go with the tuition first, and then I'll talk about the volunteering. And so for tuition, I used to say scholarship is a gift from God, because if you're a fee-paying student and you're abroad, you will know the kind of pressure that comes with that. Especially in Sweden, I don't know, in UK, they said there are a lot of student jobs that you can do. And then in UK, they speak English generally, but in Sweden, their first language is Swedish, although they speak English, but their first language is Swedish. So for you to quickly get a job, before you settle and everything, is stress. So anytime, when people are struggling, you're just relaxed because your tuition is being taken care of. They're paying you. Now they've increased it. Okay, it's 12,000, 1,200 SEK. And the tuition fee are expensive. In Sweden, you have 2 years of masters, unlike the UK. Most of their masters there is 2 years. Now, for example, if you're an IT person, you will not pay less than 60,000 SEK, and that's 6,000 krona, 6,000 krona 6,000 euros every 4 months. Every 4 months, that's like 6,000. How do you want to meet up? Even if you want to work, they owe 6,000. It's a lot of money. So, but when you get the scholarship, it helps you. It relieves you of so many stress. You can even save more because you will get a part-time job that you can work. There's no limit of how you can work. You can work as much as possible, send money home, and you're keeping your scholarship money without touching. For me, my scholarship money, I kept immediately I got a job. I wasn't even touching it. I left it because I was working, and where I was working, I was even earning more than what the scholarship was giving me. So I was able to pay my living expenses from the work that was a part-time work that I was doing at that time. So it's a blessing. So once you have the opportunity, give it your all. I used to say that there are some things that you don't get in life until you are desperate enough to get it. Because once you are desperate, you will look for every means to get that scholarship. Every little details that during my time, all YouTube channels that was speaking about that scholarship, I searched it. I read all frequently asked questions on their website, Swedish Institute's which I read their websites more than 1,000 times. To the extent that if you wake me and ask me in Swedish Institute, what is this? I will tell you, even before I got it. So I was not surprised when I even got it because I knew I was going to get it at that time. Right. So you have to be desperate of getting that thing. And then you pray. I don't know if everyone is a Christian, but that's my belief. When you pray, the prayer, because if you read my motivation letter, there's nothing different about it. But there was something different spiritually. Because it was not just me writing I wrote it with the Holy Spirit. Sometimes when I finish praying in the middle of the night, I drafted my motivation letter plenty times. The Holy Spirit will say, change this, put this, do this, and do it, say it like this, do it like this. All those little details. There are things that I did that I was not even paid for, that I just do. I package it where into the motivation career drive. I was just there as a member. I have never spoke on that platform. I have never said anything. But I just use that I'm a member of this platform. What do they do? They help youth in doing this and this and that and that and this and this and this. And I used it. So all those little things that you do, there's a way you package it and make it look fine. You refine it when you're doing stuff like this. And then the voluntary, like, yes, I've already said it. You need to have voluntary services because it's one of the ways to show that you're making impact in your society. So why should we trust you with a scholarship that you've not even made effort? If we trust you, because we want people that will make impact. So you've not even gotten the scholarship, you're already making impact in this social area, in this social area. So I was also a member of JCI, Junior Chamber International as well. So all those kind of things, there are those things that will help you to build up your application. They will know that, okay, this person is worth a scholarship. She has not even gotten it and she's already making impact already. So yeah, so voluntary services is very important. They will not, and this is the trick, they will not shout it that we need it to have a non-governmental. They will not shout it, but they're actually looking forward to that as well. So it goes a long way. Yeah, so that's all I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so I'm just going to go to some other questions quickly. I know our time is fast spent. So there's something I also want to address, which is what you talked about in terms of keywords in your personal statement. So application systems are usually designed as things called they're generally called application tracking system. Now, these application tracking systems are embedded with what is called SES. SES is a term that means search engine software. The search engine softwares are designed to recognize and look for the match between what you submit and what has been advertised. So they recognize keywords and they look for they look for the keywords, how that is represented in your personal statement. And that's how, if you don't have a good percentage of representation, it can filter out your CV or your application, whatever it is that you put forward. This is the same technique that is applied in job screening. It's the same design, the same model. And so we'd like people to understand this. And there is a tool that is free that you can add as a Google extension, as an extension on your Google Chrome. It's called Jobalytics. What Jobalytics does is a resume analyzer. It analyzes not just a resume, but anything that you want to submit for something, and it can tell you the match between that particular document you've prepared and the application that you want to put it in for. It does it in terms of percentage, so it can tell you that there's a 30% match, there's a 40% match, there is 80%. I always tell people, aim for 70% and above, and Jobalytics can help you to do that. It's a guide, but you still need to learn how to do all of this. And one of the things we also do in Career Drive is to do tailored career coaching for people. So you want somebody to hold your hand and coach you. We have a coaching program that is designed for 1 month. And within that 1 month, we are able to guide you on everything you need to know for 4 weekends, 1 hour each weekend. And we take you through the specifics of the things you need to know to prepare an application that is spot on, that is detailed, that is good enough to take you through anything. So it's very much straightforward, and we use the experience that we've gathered over time to be able to do that. So I'm going to come back to you, Bosnola, and I want to touch on the language issue. Part of the reasons why many people from Africa, particularly English-speaking countries in Africa, focus on looking for admissions to Canada, US, Australia, and the UK is because these countries are naturally English-speaking. But I like the point you made that Sweden also speaks English a lot. I just want you to, it's the same experience I had when I was in Netherlands. Netherlands, hardly is there anybody that cannot speak English in Netherlands, even though Dutch is their primary language. The only time they don't speak English to you is when they are not happy to talk to you and they want to use their language, the way we also do when we speak Yoruba to ourselves. But I want you to touch on this. How significant is the language barrier in Sweden? And can it limit your chances of getting a job?
It depends. Right now, Sweden is opening up, but previously it was really it's still significant, but sometimes they bend rules. I work in a government, like I told Uncle in the beginning of this program. I do research with the government, and you're required to speak Swedish. I don't speak Swedish, though I'm attending Swedish courses, right? I don't speak, but I still got to. Sometimes they bend. A lot of foreign students are getting a job, good jobs without language, because there are some courses that you don't even need Swedish. If you're an IT person, maybe you work remotely, or you work with Ericsson, Siemens, all this big tech company. They don't, but though they might put it there, but it doesn't mean like. And another thing that one of my professors once told me is, if you see a job advert and say you must speak Swedish, as long as once you come for the interview and they see that you cannot speak Swedish, they ask you that is English your first language. If you say no, that you have other languages, they believe in you that so far English is not your first language and you could learn English this much. Definitely, it won't be hard for you to learn Swedish. So they consider you for the job. So sometimes when people say, oh, they need Swedish, they run. No, don't run. Still move forward. Except if they really, except if people you'll be working with speak only in Swedish, so then it counts. But if it's a multinational place, they don't really, they say it, but it doesn't mean that you won't get a job.
Great. Thank you so much. And I just want to also, I'm going to throw the room open again. If anybody has a question you want to, please just show your hands and I can just give you the floor to ask your question. If you're shy, you want to put it in the chat box, that's fine. I'll read it out, but I prefer people speaking. It's part of how you build your confidence, how you build your ability to interact. So as much as possible, we want you to engage. We want you to ask your questions, express yourself. If you're going for an interview, you would be expressing yourself. So why not take this opportunity as a means to start preparing yourself for things like that? While we're waiting for people who have questions, I want to talk again on something that you mentioned in passing, but I want us to, put a beam on it. You said something that relates to performance, that some people even lost their scholarship opportunities. So I want to ask, is performance, academic performance now you've gotten the scholarship, you started the program, is your academic performance a basis to retain your scholarship? If you underperform, is it possible that you lose the entire scholarship? And again, worst case, is it possible that if you lose the scholarship and probably lose your admission offer, can you even lose your ability to stay in the country?
Okay. So yes, you can lose your scholarship if you're not doing well academically, but the requirement is kind of is favorable a little, because when you're in Sweden and you fail a course, they give you opportunity to redo it 3 times before they can finally make decision that you failed this course. So they give you opportunity before you can fail. But if you fail, like in a semester, we have 30 credits. So if you have less than 22 credits, SI is going to withdraw your scholarship. And with that, there's no comeback with that. They take the scholarship. And once you take the scholarship, they inform migration. So if you don't have proof of funds to show that you can pay your tuition and pay your life in Sweden, then they tell you to go. They tell you to, once you lose that scholarship and you cannot provide for yourself, then they tell you to go. So yeah, it's so easy to lose, but it's hard for you to lose your Swedish Institute scholarship, except if you're not that serious, because it's slim as well. It's slim, very slim to fail in Sweden. They give you opportunities to kind of meet up with requirements.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We're running to the end of the session. Thank you so much for everybody who has joined. One key thing that we would need from you to be able to improve this session for future, we want to hear back from you. Some of you have not spoken, maybe you are shy, but we want to hear back from you, and we want to put the feedback form in the chat. We want to put the feedback form in the chat right now. So maybe if Lola can help us pop that into the chat, and please go back to that feedback form, take some time to go through and just let us hear from you what you think, how we can improve, what needs to be better. We're going to take those and apply them. And next month in June, we'll let you know. So please don't also forget to join the WhatsApp group. We're going to inform you when we are starting, when we're having the June edition, which is going to be focused on another country. In July, we're going to pick another country. We're going to continue to pick, those countries one after the other. This information might be useful for you, for somebody that you know. So please let them know that the fact that they cannot afford the fees should not limit them. And like Bosinola had said, if you fail it once, doesn't mean you shouldn't go for it again. I told my story at the beginning. I started a master's program in FUTA 2013, a master's in civil and environmental engineering. When I wanted to start that program, I didn't have the money to start. So one of my mentors advised me, maybe I've not forgiven him for that advice. He said, Ayo, you don't need to have all the tuition fee. Do you have the money for the registration? Registration fee was just 10,000. I said, that's 10,000, I have that. He said, with faith, go and apply. Just apply and get it. Don't worry about the tuition, God will provide. I went with that word, paid for the application with 10,000, and I got admission. Now I got admission, I was required to pay 96,500 as my first year tuition fee. I got admission December. I needed to make that payment by the end of February. I went back to my bros who gave me the advice. He said to me, I don't have that money, but God will provide. When I couldn't raise that money, I went with my mom to someone to beg for money. In fact, I still remember, I still have that video playing in my head. My mom knelt down in front of that man to ask for a loan of 100,000 naira. God bless the heart of Pastor Aguda. He was my pastor at the time. He was the one that gave us the loan of 100,000 naira that I paid my first year tuition fee with. But guess what? I paid that first year tuition. I started working along the line that year. So I paid it in February. I started working in June. But I was working in Benin and my program was in Akure. I was also taking care of myself. It was difficult to continue. At a point, my supervisor was on leave for about a year. And because of that, I did stop the program. So, but at some point, I wasn't also going regularly. So I completed my coursework, passed on my coursework, but I kept piling up, the cost every year, because every year they'll be counting the cost for you if you have not finished. Now, what happened was by the time I wanted to complete, the money I was owing the school was a lot. In fact, that was in 2017. They said I was already owing 540,000 naira. I couldn't raise the money. So I abandoned that program. I dropped out of that master's. But for somebody who dropped out of a master's program in 2017, by 2019, I was offered a fully funded scholarship to study in Netherlands for 2 years. I completed that, had a fully funded master's again at the best university in the world, in Oxford. I'd completed that program. So opportunities would always come. Do not give up. That's the message. Do not give up. But Sinola said that again, do not give up. So finally, anybody with anything that you think if we don't give you the opportunity to say it, you will not be happy. I just want to give you 1 minute finally. 1 minute, anybody like that you really want to express yourself and say something in 1 minute. Okay. If none,
Good morning.
okay, go
My name
for
is
it,
Chema
Chioma.
Jonathan Bayode.
Go
I
for
think
it.
I joined the meeting at almost 30 minutes ago. I didn't really start at the beginning, but listening to the host and listening to you as well, I think it's been very, very enlightening and encouraging. Okay, so my question is, in Sweden, do they do they have masters in social work? Because social work is something that I really want to pursue. I've had volunteering experience in that, helping people, welfare, you know. So I don't know if it's something that thrives in that country, looking at the language and all. Yeah, that's my question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay. So the
That's
question is
something you can respond to quickly in 30 seconds.
okay. Is it the question I don't is it for you to get masters or to get a job? Is that the question?
No, to do a master's in
Or
social work and then also get a scholarship as well.
of course, yes, you can. Yeah,
Okay, great.
you can get.
Thank you so much, everyone. Don't forget to also pray, because there are things you can't make happen for yourself. God can make it happen